Divorce Not Option podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, and please be sure to subscribe and follow our podcast so that you can be automatically alerted when we produce a new episode on iTunes, Spreaker.com, Google Play, YouTube, and SoundCloud. And tell a friend and repost and retweet this podcast for us. Hey, y'all.
That's how this is that how this podcast is gonna be? We're not able to say retweet?
You couldn't say it either.
Dang it. I was hoping you didn't catch that.
It's hard.
Also, do we need to just write "Hey y'all" in the script? Because I think "Hey y'all" should be before you say.
It should be, but I just just started going, and then it was like, oh yeah, I didn't say "Hey y'all" because you caught me off guard and realized we had started.
Okay, so I'm gonna put "Hey y'all" in the script going forward, so we just know where that's at. Because I'll be waiting for it now. Like, I don't know. You have a bad podcast, I think, if we don't do "Hey y'all" at the beginning now.
So I meant to say it, but then I was like, oh, he went. My turn. Okay. All right.
Okay, so this week we're going to talk about an article I wrote called 5 Reasons Why My Relationship Works with My Drug Addicted. Okay, I can't talk to you today. This is going to be a bad podcast. It's because you didn't say "Hey y'all" first.
I knew you were gonna say that. Whatever.
Let's kick it up. Let's do from the top again. Okay. So this is the Divorce Is Not an Option podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Hey y'all. Please be sure to subscribe, follow the podcast, and tell a friend. iTunes, Spreaker.com, Google Play, YouTube, and SoundCloud. I'm not even trying to say retweet.
That's what I was about to ask you. Still skip that. When you're not trying to say it, it says it right. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about an article I wrote called 5 Reasons Why My Relationship Works Better with My Drug Addicted Boyfriend. That's right. I said 5 reasons why you laughing hard at my
craziest. Okay, go ahead.
5 reasons why my relationship works with my drug addicted boyfriend. Wait. Let me. Okay, I say I wrote, but we got to say Tamara. Tamara, what did you do for the article? What did you do? What do you do over there when I send articles to you and say, hey, what you think about this or what's going on?
I take it and I make it better.
Oh.
So, I mean, like, I just put a little, stank on it.
See, in the old days, you used to like do edits, and I used to see how it was better, and you don't do that no more. You just like rewrite it.
Okay, so to make that fair, back in the day, you were writing just like advisory kind of articles or whatever. This when you tried to write from the perspective of a woman, and you needed a woman's touch.
You saying I can't go into?
No, you wrote it like a dude.
I wrote. That's what Steve Harvey would say, right? He would say, think like a man, act like a lady." So it's kind of the same thing, right?
You got that all
I wrote like a dude. You know what I'm saying?
You wrote like a dude.
Okay, so what else did you do with the article besides make it better? I mean, is it something more, or is that basically it?
We can say I co-pilot. So, you the pilot, I co-pilot, and just, make sure that everything stays on track.
So you over there sitting over there, and I'm like, yo, we're going to go to this latitude and this longitude, and then you say?
Yes. Or we could go to this latitude and this longitude.
And then I get to look at you like, all right, I guess that's the right way to go.
Exactly.
I did not recognize that your role was that significant in the, but you know what? I'll reread something and I'll be like, I don't know what you know what it is, Tamara? You know what? You could be a co-pilot. You can also be a co-chef, right? Because sometimes if somebody puts something in the gumbo, you be like, I don't know what they put in this gumbo.
Yep. I can take that. I could be a sous chef. I could do that.
Sous chef. I don't know what they did. I don't it's the roux. All I know is roux. You know all the stuff they do on the gumbo.
You got one thing. That's all right.
I know one thing. You put some roux in it and some flour or something. Chef.
I'm sure it's a lot of chefs who put their names on stuff and they didn't do that.
We're not gonna go through what's all in gumbo right now.
No.
We're not gonna do that.
Let's move forward.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I have one thing that I want to talk about before we actually jump into the article.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go. I thought you was gonna say something else. I'm sorry.
Okay, no. I'm just saying. I just want to. I know this is kind of off track, but I wanted to get into something else. So, you know how people are always saying that marriages have ups and downs and we need to compromise and work through our issues. And of course, we've titled this podcast, Divorce is Not an Option. But I want like a real in-depth, applicable, like tangible, tried and true, tested examples of a detailed explanation of how you problem solve in marriage. Cause I mean, this whole, work through your issues don't really help nobody.
That was a whole lot of T's, like tangible, tried, tested, true. Where you going with this?
No, like for real. People be like, I mean, you just stick it out. You just figure it out. But I mean, that's not an answer.
So problem solving in marriage. Okay. So first, the first part of marriage, the first thing about marriage is on the job training, right? There are millions of things that people do, right, for the first time. And marriage is one of those things where you can't really prepare for it. Like you can watch, you can observe, you can take advice from someone else, but until you really feel, what's going on in a marriage, you don't know how to compromise. You don't know how to problem solve.
Okay, that's great, but that's still really general.
Okay. Compromising, sacrificing. Okay. So for example, let's take money, right?
Okay.
Like I never really had a budget until I got married. Like I really had to talk to myself a lot about watching my wife's money because I could just spend. And then when I got married, I was like, what is she spending money on?
None, yeah.
And so what I came up with after time, like, okay, so we really should have 4 accounts where I don't need to know what she's spending her daily money on. So I said, okay, we need to have a shared account where we pay all our bills from, where we, have our investments, our health care or whatever, car notes, mortgage, all that, daycare, all that comes out of that. And then I have a discretionary amount and she has a discretionary amount. And I don't know what she spent her discretionary amount on. I don't care. It doesn't impact the budget of the family.
Okay, so how do you decide what goes in that joint account?
And so what goes in a joint account is everything that I can schedule. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for example, I don't put the dry cleaning in there because I don't go to dry cleaning every week. It's not a set bill. And the dry cleaning is different every time we go because the clothes are different or whatever. And groceries, I don't put in there because groceries are different.
Okay, well, hair and nails are schedulable as well.
That's schedulable, but that's your personal business. I don't want to know how often or how many nails you get or how much hair you get or if you get a wig. That's true. So that's her personal discretionary money. And the discretionary money is the same for husband and wife. I don't care what a person makes. I don't care if the husband makes $200,000. I pretty much don't care if it's fair or not. I'm telling you it's going to work for marriage.
But I'm just saying, okay, look. So you going to get your hair cut for $25 a week, whereas, my hair costs $100.
Then those types of things do have to be negotiated because that's true. Because every week I go is $25. If my wife went every week, it would definitely be like $150 a week.
Exactly.
Or however. So some things you do have to negotiate in terms of what is determined to be discretionary, right? Okay. And so if hair is something that is $150 a week, maybe you guys decide that, okay, for hair, we're going to put that in the shared account budget at $150 a week. And then the man is going to put in his $25 a week too. And then at the end of all those things that you feel like are shared, then you have your discretionary gift.
Okay.
And so that's an example of negotiation. Like that's an example of approaching a problem with a mindset of solving it. Like, how can we solve it? And the goal, and every problem you got to have a goal, right? And the goal was, how do we end up with the same amount of discretionary money so no one's watching what other person is spending? That's how I arrived at that.
Okay. So how do you get on the same page to even have that mentality? Because you have people who are like, A, I make more than she makes, so she on her own. Or B, like I just said, some discretionary funds, like some man may decide that there is no reason whatsoever that I need to be paying for your hair and nails.
Right. And that's disappointing when people feel like that. But the fact of the matter is that if you don't have an approach where the discretionary is the same, the marriage is not going to work over the long haul because you'll have different things that you argue about.
That's a strong statement.
And so, right. I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of times I get to say something kind of surface level, but we don't get to really dig deep. And I have like principles that I apply to everything. Right. And so the example would be, I remember I threw my mom under the bus because she don't listen to the podcast that much anyway. And so I remember one time my mom said, my mom called me like, hey, I'm going on a cruise next week. Just wanted to let you know I was going to be gone. I said, oh, Mom, what do you mean? You going on a cruise? What about your husband? My mom said, he don't have no money.
Oh, wow.
And that was just matter of fact, right? Like I'm going with my girls and he don't have no money. As if he had money, he can go. Like, oh, it'd be cool if he, a year later, they got a divorce. You know what I'm saying? And he was going through, and they got married at a later, they both got married a little older, over 50 or something like that, dated for some years, got married and after that. But then my mom make bank. My mom got good money. He don't have a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And so, but they always kept their money separate. So when he went through a tough situation, he had no choice but to look at her and say, help me. And her look back and say, you a grown man, why you can't take care of yourself? Okay, the marriage is going to be over. So he started having a problem with his car, for example. His car always having trouble. And he's retired. He had a strict budget. He was sticking to and all that. And so he couldn't fix his car. My mom looking at him like, that's your car, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, And so every once in a while, she would help out. I don't want to paint her too bad of a picture. It wasn't like she was selfish, but she definitely had the mindset of, you are a grown man. You should be able to take care of yourself. I'm a grown woman. I'm going to take care of myself. If I need to help you out every once in a while, cool, but I'm not going to take care of you. To whereas I tried to talk to my mom about, just split the money. Money is not what makes people happy. That's another principle that I have, right? So because people who got money are still looking for love or looking for affection or looking for intimacy. And if they're not looking for those things, then there's something else they're looking for. They're looking for glory or, a feel of importance or something like that. Something else.
Studies have actually been done on that. And they say that when you hit a certain amount, for Americans today, that's probably around $75,000 to $100,000 annually. Once you hit that, your happiness doesn't grow.
Right. And then it becomes, I read something like that too, where it said that then it just becomes a greed thing.
Exactly.
And so it's no longer that I need money or money is my reward. Now it's that I have more money than you.
Right.
I make more than you. I want to make more than them. Like I'm a CEO and I make $5 million a year. And now I heard that the CEO across the street makes $6 million a year. Right. So next year I need to make $7 million a year. Not that million matters.
At all.
Right. And so the thing I try to teach couples is that money does not make you happy. If you could figure out how to make the money and the discretionary equal, then long-term your marriage will be happier. Because then I have men who feel like, okay, and if you don't do it like that, let's talk about some reasons that why it happened, like as we're going through problem solving and figuring it out. If you don't do it like that, what happens is now the husband and wife are going out to dinner and we're trying to figure out who's going to pay, right? The husband is like, well, I can't pay every time we go out because, then that comes out of my discretionary, right? Or you decide that comes out of the shared. Or then it becomes how much money you spend out of the shared account. You know what I mean? And so it's just too many things that you have to worry about. When you say you have the same amount of discretionary money, you have the same expectations of having a budget to say, hey, I'm going to be responsible. So like, for example, over the weekend, I bought some shoes, right? That came out of my discretionary money. Mm-hmm. And so for the rest of this week, I need to be more careful about. Sometimes I go ball out at lunch. I'm spending $20 a day at lunch. And I come home and I get something to eat and all that kind of stuff. And so this week now I have to tell myself it's Wednesday, I need to be more careful with my money through the rest of the week. Maybe I need to eat some salads the rest of the week. You know what I'm saying? And so that's not to say, just for all the podcasters out there, your boy got that cheese. Don't worry about it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I got that cheese. Don't worry about it. But the point is, I put myself on a budget because that is the responsible thing to do. So if you see me tomorrow and I say I'm broke, trust and believe that me saying I'm broke means I don't want to spend money outside of what I budgeted to spend.
Got it. I understand. I do that all the time.
Right. Which means, too, that I've eliminated any issue of debating money in my household. We don't. And money is the number one reason people get divorced. Not infidelity, not church, not religion or whatever. It's money. Right. And it's not just, how you spend money. It's your expectation of, what you have, in discretionary. Like I have one client who's like, I want my gas tank to never go below half tank. And I'm like, what? Like, why? Cars are built to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not necessary.
Till it's fast to eat.
You know what I'm saying? I want to know exactly how many miles I got past to eat because I just hate stopping to fill up gas. And so for me, problem solving is about, it's not just about saying, and then it's approach to problem solving too that I try to coach couples on, right? So as soon as let's break it down like this. As soon as you're having a debate or a difference of opinion with your partner, with your spouse, what you have to be able to do is understand what they are trying to get out of this debate, right? And so let's give an example. So say I want to go out to dinner at 7:00, right? And my wife wants to go out to dinner at 5:00, right? I have to now stop and figure out why she wants to go out to dinner at 5:00. Right. And too often what we do in relationships is we keep saying, no, I'm going to go at 7.
Yeah.
No, I want to go at 7. Right.
But I mean, I think also it's important to note that even in that situation, going out to dinner at 6:00 may not be the compromise. It may be,
right,
we're going out to dinner at 5:00 today and we'll get what I want tomorrow.
Right. It could be a perfectly good reason why my spouse wants to go out at 5:00. But the point still in that is that we make sure we have to stop and really we're making it simple. I don't know if we can think of a more complicated scenario, but really if you apply it across all situations, the first thing you do is you figure out why they want what they want.
Well, since you want more complicated, let's try sex.
Uh-oh, what you got?
Well, I mean, you were giving examples like, what about relationships where one partner wants sex more than the other?
It's again, you know what? It's another good question, Tamara. Can you put these in the script? Like you could have asked me, should have told me these was coming up. You know what I'm saying? So I can have my real professional, polished, my polished response. I could have said, okay. Well, and what's funny, and like we said in a couple podcasts before, more and more women are more the sexual. What's the word I want to use? Like requiring more sex in marriage than a lot of times men these days. I don't know if it's because we're getting older or what's going on. But the thing I say about sex with couples is that you got to remember in sex, it's funny how often we forget this. Mm-hmm. Sexually, you get one person to please you. That's it. I got my wife. All my sexual needs, desires, dreams, everything, my wife is the only person that can complete those dreams for me. I had a couple come in one day where a woman just was like so excited to come and see me. And she was so pumped up. And she started off with, he thinks I'm his porn star. Please tell him I'm not his porn star. And I said, yeah, you are his porn star. And you should have saw how deflated. Right. She was just like deflated. I was like every person should have a porn star in marriage, like all of us.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean when I say porn star, that doesn't mean that you active everyday porn star. You got to shoot movies. That just means that, okay, I need to make sure that I meet my spouse halfway and making them happy. And on occasion, we need to do something wild and crazy. So we ain't got to be creative outside of our marriage or, having thoughts and dreams and fantasies about other women. We need to take that on ourselves and say, how can I make my partner happy over a long? And I get people who really forget. I get people who are like, okay, so we have to have sex. Yes.
So how did you negotiate sexual satisfaction though?
It's how you negotiate sexual. Well, you getting really into the details. You notice I had to restate it because that gives me time to think it through.
I'm just really trying to figure out, because if you have somebody who, like you're talking about the wife who's like, he won't too much. If she don't want to do it, that's not what satisfies her. So how do you make what satisfies him and what satisfies her come together?
Okay, again, it starts fundamentally where you say to yourself, okay, I'm the husband. My wife comes to me and says, hey, I'm not pleased sexually. I would like to try some different things. Mm-hmm. As the husband, I have to be open to pleasing her sexually because she's my life partner. And so if I don't make her happy, then what is she supposed to do? Just be unhappy? And that's the thing that people like I give the example of if I don't want Popeyes, I can go to Church's, right? If I don't want Church's, I can go to Wingstop. You know what I'm saying? If I want Wingstop, I can go to KFC, whatever. But with sex, I can't go anywhere else. This is it. So my wife comes to me and she's unhappy or she needs something more, then I need to come off of my ego and say, okay, I need to handle business differently and experiment. Right.
That's a big one. Just, the male ego, just okay, it's not about you. And actually, it's not just a male ego thing. I think women get sensitive as well. It's not about you. It's not, taking it personally or hurt because your spouse is not, satisfied at that moment. and it's an issue or something that can be resolved as opposed to an attack.
Right. And again, it's very simple. I have to restate it over and over again. It's between these two people only. I had another couple come to me once where they weren't having sex, and the wife was just like, "I don't want to have sex. I don't know why. I just don't want to have sex." And I was like, "You don't find your husband attractive?" He's like, "No, it's not that. I think he's attractive. You know, he's fine. I've always been attracted to him, but I'm not sexually aroused." And I was like, "Okay, well, you don't get to just not have sex in marriage because you can't control his sex." Right. And so sometimes people, and that's how I stated, like, you're trying to control all of the sex. And if you can't control all of the sex because you're only half of it. So if you control his sex, then he wants to maintain control of his sex. You know what I mean? Like, so really you're just controlling your sex. And if you make it yours and he make it his, then he might go get his sexual needs fulfilled somewhere else.
But
right.
Okay. But I think that we're kind of doing a one-sided perspective here in this discussion. Because it's all what to do to satisfy the partner that's unsatisfied. What about the partner that doesn't want to have sex as much? I mean, I think that's a two-way street. Like if one wants to have sex, every day, and one wants to have sex, twice a week, you got to figure out how to satisfy both.
Right. And so, well, you may not satisfy both. Like if one person wants to have sex every day and the other person wants to have sex twice a week, you're not going to satisfy both. But this is marriage, and you or the person with the situation, they joined into a relationship where you compromise, right? And so you have to be able to. Just today, I was talking to a client where I said that you have to understand how your partner feels and understand why, and not think that they're crazy just because they think something different from you. Right. And so if I'm the person that wants to have sex every day, I got to understand that my wife doesn't want to have sex every day. And that's her right to have that feeling. So how can we now meet halfway? So that's a conversation to say, okay, what are the reasons, or how can I help us have a more intimate lifestyle? How can I help us, and then my client today said, well, I'm so embarrassed to say that we schedule sex. And I was like, why are you embarrassed to say that? Like, I think that's perfectly fine if you schedule a sexual experience, as we talked about on a couple podcasts a couple weeks ago. Like, it's an experience. Right. It's not just go, okay, at 9 o'clock, I'm going to put it in, and then at 9:02, I'm going to take it out. You know what I'm saying?
Mindset, too. Like, I mean, because yes. I was saying last week, that's what I hear when I hear scheduled sex. So, right. That's a whole different mindset we have to be open to.
And so if you want to, if you want to have, and then what I said I actually had a guy about a month ago who said, I do want to have sex every day. But then he also complained about his wife not being involved sexually. He was like, sometimes she just lay there. And I was like, man, that's because she don't want to have sex. You know what I'm saying? And so like, she's just going to lay there. I said, why don't you try and experimenting with sex every other day? And then I said to his wife, if he brings down the level of sex, activity, then you got to bring up your increase your activity, increase your excitement. You know what I'm saying? And then you gotta create space and time around sex, right? Stop making sex be, I got the kids in bed, finally fed the kids, and now I'm dead tired, and I'm giving you my dead tired body. You know what I'm saying? We have to figure out how to do that differently. I had a couple before where I said, hey, if you get them kids in the living room, sit down for 20, 30 minutes, put the monitor on, and y'all go run to the back, get it popping. That might be fun. It might be exciting. It might be, y'all, make it happen on top of the door while the kids beating on the door, whatever. Let's get back to exciting, fun, sex where, I mean, and it's really disappointing. I mean, I see so many couples that are just not having sex, and they're not alarmed by not having sex. Like, to me, that's a dead giveaway that your marriage is struggling when you come in my office and you say we having sex once a week or once every other couple of weeks, or I don't really know how often we have sex. That means to me that you're not connecting. And for me, sex is not just the physical act, right? It's about connecting. It's about reminding our bodies that we belong to each other and not to anyone else. It's about reminding our spirits that we only do this with each other and not someone else.
Exactly. I was reading something that was talking about how, and I just, maybe this is just regular, but it was mind blowing for me. Just that sex and marriage should be completely amazing because you have one person that you have to focus on, and you just have one person that you have to satisfy, and you have your whole life to grow and learn exactly what turns that person on. And I mean, if you really and truly focus on satisfying your partner, it should be mind blowing not like all the time because life happens, but you should really have some pretty amazing sex.
Yeah, me and my wife try to talk about sex maybe once a year. Yeah, probably about once a year where we really just talk. And I say, hey, I just want to make sure that you're happy. What can I do differently? What can I do better? You know what I'm saying? Then of course I'm a dude, so I know you don't like me saying that kind of stuff because you like don't always stereotype it
Yeah,
as the
it's
dude.
two ways.
But it's two ways. And so, but I'll try to at least come to her and say, hey, I feel like we haven't been connecting lately, or if we have, or what's going on, or what can we do differently? What can we do better? And just, I really do that about every aspect of my marriage though, and I think that's the only way, because people grow and change. The world is changing so much, it's just tough, but again, with problem solving, you have to be able to be good. Let me give three real quick. And so 3 reasons why problem solving is so tough in marriage. Number 1, like I said, marriage is on the job training. Number 2, communication. Like, we're not humble enough to listen and be open to being wrong. Right? Like it bothers me when I deal with a couple. Oh, I was trying to skip over that.
Yes.
I need to pause there for a second. Right, like it bothers me that we get stuck in marriage where we're still prideful and all those types of things. You know what I'm saying? Like this is my partner, this is my life partner. We've been together 12 years. I should be able to say everything and anything to her, to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? If I say it with care, if I say it with tenderness. Right. And so if I go to her and say, hey, we're not, pleasing each other sexually or whatever. And that's the other thing too about sex, is anytime that I felt like I may not have been pleasing my wife sexually, I said to myself, you know what? She's probably not that happy about our sexual interactions right now too. Yeah. And men struggle with that. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, no, she gonna be happy about the way I be beating it up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing. I know I've been getting it in for years. Anybody ever? Then my favorite is, ain't nobody ever complained before her. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because they can leave you.
You know what I'm saying? And so you convicted and how you get it down, how you get it popping. And I'm like, no, you got to be able to communicate. Sometimes your chemistry is a little bit off. Sometimes the foreplay is a little bit off. The intimacy is a little bit off. How you're feeling about each other during that time. You're going through a tough time. Like, if you're emotionally going through a tough time in your marriage, the sex is not going to be as good normally. And so I would say marriage is on the job training. I would say communication. I will say that we give up on marriage way too easily. Like, let me restate that. What I mean is, I have a lot of marriages where people just become stagnant and they just say, this is what it's going to be. Like, I'm just going to be unhappy with the sex in my marriage for the rest of my life.
Yeah. That's like, wow.
There's people listening right now. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, yeah, that's how, you know what I'm saying?
Or just sex is not that important. I'm just going to not focus on it.
I'm not going to focus on it. It's not a big deal. He's making it a big deal, or she's making a big deal. They making too big of a deal about sex. Why are you always talking about sex? Why you always want to have sex? Like, all that kind of, drama. Or like I said, people who are really just like, okay, this is my sex life. Like, and there it is over there.
Can get like that.
Yes, and I have people come in all the time. Like, another thing that bothers me is I have a husband or wife come in and say, "Hey, my spouse cheated on me," and I'll say, "Well, was your partner happy sexually?" And you just be surprised how many times people say to me, "Well, I don't know."
Yeah, you know.
I'm like, "What do you mean you don't know?" Like, I mean, like, and see, that's where we get off track on our role is to make the person that we're with happy. And I got so many spouses who lose sight of that somewhere. They just lose it. Like,
human nature. Your focus is, am I happy? And I'm not happy, so it is what it is.
Right. And whereas I specifically concentrate on making sure that my wife is happy, because I believe that the happier that I make her, the happier that she will make me. And that's really how marriage should work, right? Right. That's how it should work. Like I have people come in all the time and I say, no, I take care of my wife's needs first because if I take care of my needs first and she take care of her needs first, what happens if one of us gets stuck somewhere or what's the point of being married? There is no connection. There is no union. There is no relationship. And so my first thing is I sacrifice for her. My second thought is, what can I do for me? And then I don't have to worry about that. She worries about me. And so I get a lot of couples who just come in and they're just like, we're unhappy and that's just what it is. And we can't fix it. I mean, I get people who really come to me and say, you can't fix this. Like, go on, tell us for real. Like you ain't never seen nothing like this. And another thing, Tamara. Okay, let me finish that one little part. So 3 reasons to be real clear that problem solving is difficult. Marriage is on the job training. Our communication, and we don't know how to communicate to each other. We're not humble enough to be wrong. And then we give up too easy, meaning that we just stay where we are and think that this is going to be life and that we cannot make our marriage better. We just accept that our partner really either doesn't want to meet our needs or we can't meet their needs or whatever instead of figuring out a true compromise. And then 4th, our approach is wrong. What does that mean? In terms of we approach, meaning like when we have a problem, that my approach should be to compromise. My approach should not be, let me explain it until she agrees with me.
I like that approach. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Because you gonna get this right. You gonna learn today.
Hold on. You're just not understanding. Let me say it again differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, wait. You're not understanding what I'm saying. And I'm like, no. Once you recognize, and that's why I said earlier, you have to recognize why your partner is feeling the way that they're feeling, right? So then you want to go to dinner at 7. They want to go at 5. Right. So now you understand what she wants to do. She wants to go at 5. You understand why she wants to go at 5. And now my approach is that I'm not trying to go at 7 anymore. That's no longer my approach. My approach is 6 o'clock now. Right. And so I want to go at 7. She wants to go at 5. My approach is now, okay, can we go at 6? I immediately give up 100% my way.
Or even, but I think that is a lot of growth to say, let's go at 6 o'clock. But I think the even better approach is if you have the emotional intelligence to say, her reason for going at 5 makes more sense than my reason for going at 7. So let's just go at 5.
And that growth that you're really talking about is saying that, okay, and we're just going to go at 5 this time. And tomorrow, if I want to go at 7 and she wants to go at 5, I have to trust that she's going to say, you know what? Yesterday we went at 5. Today we can go at 7. And so we have to have that. And so that's a big part of marriage, is being able to give my partner the benefit of the doubt that she's not going to always want things to go her way, that sometimes she's going to want things to go my way too. She wants me to be happy. And we lose that in marriage a lot of times, where we want to know, that each person is going to be happy. Okay, so you're
talking about all this negotiation. Spell negotiate.
You trying to say negotiate and spell wrong
everywhere
in the script?
Neo, it gives
it was copy and paste. You just gonna make jokes about the little script?
It's horrible.
I'm scared. I'm scared. Okay, Okay, you ready? Negoi. Is it I-T? Negoti-ate. Give me another one.
Did you have that in front of you?
No, why you think I can spell negotiate?
You so couldn't in this script.
Oh, you know what? I was writing on my phone, so that means I can spell. I gave up the whole spelling thing a long time ago. Obviously, I got a gang of editors and stuff like that. I gave that up when they started doing auto spell check in Word. I gave it up.
So we're going to wrap up the whole problem solving by saying that the problem with problem solving is that we give up too easily and accept that we will be unhappy. And by give up too easily, that doesn't mean we should continue fighting just to fight, but that we should continue negotiating.
We should continue negotiating. And also, I had to tell a group, I work with some groups on the weekend sometimes, and I had to tell a lot of couples that we are not always built to solve all our problems. That's another big issue too, is that we have husbands and wives who think, well, if we can't work it out, then it ain't meant to be worked out. Can't nobody else help us work it out. And that's not true. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
ridiculous, actually. You know
Right.
what I mean? You know, just I mean, like I tell people sometimes, like, okay, your problem, you need attention, and you need a non-biased person in the middle to help translate what each person is saying, so you can get on the same page. And I'll get a man or a woman to be like, we should be able to communicate. I'm like, no, maybe you can't communicate. Maybe you have different experiences, different observations. You come from a broken household, you come from a church household, and y'all are just two different people, and you cannot compromise. And you need someone to help you translate. And if you get someone to help you, then your marriage will be better. But people just be like, no, we should.
That is major, because we just feel like we should be able to figure it out on our own, and sometimes it's not.
I don't even understand that. Like, I don't like. It's so many places where we go that we say, okay, this person is more knowledgeable about something. Like, I got a tax accountant, I got an agent to help me buy a house, I got a stockbroker, I got a finance person. You know, I got a mechanic that I go to, and I don't understand what's going on. I got a preacher, you know what I'm saying? I got a doctor. I can self-diagnose myself. I mean, like, you know, I got a dentist. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I got a massage therapist. I got a chiropractor. You know, I pay all those people, you know, to work on things that are external to my body and all that. But the most important thing to me is my mental and my emotional, and I won't get anybody to help me with that.
Okay, so we got like onto this whole, and we got in some good stuff about problem solving, but we didn't talk about this drug addiction and drug addicted boyfriend.
So what happened was, I had a client
we didn't talk about that at all.
who came to me, and she said that, you know, and it's one of my clients I've had like over years. We just touch base like maybe quarterly or something like that. And she came to me and she said, okay, I hadn't been telling you, but the guy I've been dating for the last 2 years. And for a minute, yeah, like she said, he does cocaine. Like, and I was like caught off guard, and she said, "But it's fine. I just wanted to just talk about it, but I think I'm fine." And you know, it's been some years, and she basically said it's the best boyfriend I've ever had, and our relationship is great, and he's very supportive, and I just don't want to go back to. She said the profound thing that she said was, all of my past relationships were with men who did something to hurt me. This boyfriend is hurting himself, but he's not hurting me. So what she meant was, a guy in the past cheated on her. A guy in the past mistreated her. A guy in the past, you know, was abusive. A guy in the past was disrespectful or whatever. And this guy is none of those things that would hurt her. He's just hurting himself. No. he does cocaine maybe every other week. Okay, he's a Wall Street banker.
We talking very like successful, he smoke weed on the weekends,
and
but I mean,
when he's with his friends on occasion, by every other week, he takes a couple lines of cocaine. It's like about $50 worth, and he really is using it as a social drug, which is what cocaine really, the instruction manual that comes with cocaine. That's really how you should. That's really how cocaine should be used, as a social drug, not something that you just get addicted to. And that's how I've always heard about it or read about it in the 70s. She says 5 reasons why
the instruction manual?
Her relationship works with a drug addicted boyfriend. She says, number 1, he loves me. Number 2, he's romantic. Number 3, he's supportive. Number 4,
but wait a minute,
caring.
If he's doing it every other week, there's some addiction, some level of addiction.
You want to put that at the top?
Is it?
It's got to be in there somewhere. It's got to be close number 6. Don't overlook it. And then, but you know what though? And so when she told me that, I was kind of caught off guard. She says it's just a thing here in New York that, really, you know, good. People, you know, in the upper class, you know, party people at a different kind of level, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
With, you know, we're talking about people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars, Wall Street banker. And she said that it's not just him, it's a group of people, like successful people. And what I did, The Wolf of Wall Street is real. And then she said, and then I did some research. Like, I called a couple of my other clients in New York, and come to find out, one of my clients, she said her ex-boyfriend that I used to work with her on, she said he did cocaine.
Wow.
But she said that she did not acknowledge it as a problem. It was a social drug. To her, it was just like him deciding to smoke weed every other week or every week. He took a hit a week. He didn't do it during the week. He worked hard. He was professional. He was never missing or nothing like that. But he liked cocaine when he was partying. I think it's the lifestyle. We're in Dallas. We're a little bit slower. These people
Okay, so if
partying
I'm
at a whole
honest, I
nother
have
level.
no
It's kind of like when we
experience
go
with
when we
cocaine
go to New York,
whatsoever.
LA, Vegas, or whatever. We know we go hard at a whole
So
nother level,
like
right? And
just
I think
thinking about
it's
this,
some. It's not
could
for
you
us. We
think
don't
of it in
understand
the
that. She
perspective
said
of
that
just like
once
drinking at a
she found out, she
party
said for the first
or
year he hid it from her.
smoking weed? Is
And
it,
then
I
once she found
mean,
out that he did it, and she would discuss it with friends, she found out like she had a number of friends that also did cocaine too that she just did not know because they're their own little group. And then when she told her friend, go ahead,
right?
crack is whack. Wait until you that. Additionally, she said that this is the first boyfriend whoever was really into her
Okay, so
in terms of, and she's like, 40s,
is
I
there
think,
no
or something like that. Yeah,
downside?
40-year-old
Like
African
I'm
American
seeing,
woman. And she
jungle
said that
fever
he just came
and,
to her
I
one
mean, I
day
guess it's
and said,
crack,
hey,
but
I hear
like,
your dreams
you
about starting
know,
your own business and things like that. And he gave her
exactly. I'm just
$50,000,
trying to
no
figure
strings
out,
attached.
can you
Like, go
actually
start your
have a
business. And
normal
now her business
functioning
is doing really,
life? Can
really
you
well.
stop?
And she
Can you,
said, that should be one of the fives. Okay, I need to rearrange her fives to sex and money. She about to be mad. She about to be mad when she hear this podcast. And I said, we gotta move out. We gotta move out. Is romantic and say hitting that thing right, blowing her back out. And we gotta move out. He loves me and say he got that them deep pockets, and we go on vacations everywhere. But at the same time,
mm,
she has dated,
was that in her
financially well
one of
off
her
people
5 points?
before. Like she's dated entertainers,
I
she's
mean,
dated
that's
athletes.
major.
And actually the entertainers and athletes had more money, but they were less generous. Exactly. They were a lot less generous. And she said that those men were all about themselves. Like they're
You know?
entertainers, right? So they're used to being in the spotlight. Like they're athletes. So they're used to, having his name on stuff and commercials and all that kind of stuff. I remember seeing Kanye West one day say how hard it was for him to be humble when he's stunting around on a Jumbotron. You know what I'm saying? You look up and you see yourself.
But
You see yourself on 100-foot
that's what I was about to
screen
say.
or,
It's not about how much they
whatever.
have, it's how
And
much they're willing
everyone
to
is
give.
screaming your name. And then you want me to be humble. I'm like, you know what? That's a really good point. Like that, you can't be humble. Like like we're asking them to be supernatural now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. But I mean, okay, so there's a saying, power corrupts absolute, no, wait, absolute power corrupts
yeah,
absolutely. Yes, it is. Power
I agree
corrupts
with
and
that.
absolute power corrupts
But I
absolutely.
do think that
Um,
men
but I
learn. I
still
know it's a whole
think
nother
that
podcast.
we all
Men learn. It's
have
easier.
a
Like cheating
responsibility
is not
to,
even a learned thing.
have
It's
some
like almost
moral
more natural
standards. So,
to be in a
you could
relationship.
say,
And
okay,
everybody
I
about to be
got
mad at
all
me
of
about
this
this.
net, and
It's harder to
that's between
learn
you
how to
and
be in a
God, and that's your
relationship
choice, and you're
for
responsible
the
for
for the
whatever
reasons
fallout
really
is
that
there.
we've been talking about, right?
So I get it, but no, that's not an excuse. I mean, like that's that like that whole Jay-Z thing. There's no excuse for cheating on Beyonce. That was your choice.
True. It's not an excuse, but it is real, right? It is factual that sin. Like I tell people, like I had a conversation with someone recently where they were talking about they're not really a Christian. They're asking me why I was a Christian, and I was saying, really, morally, everything is based on me being a Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't if I wasn't a Christian, I don't
But
know
I
how
think
I couldn't just
I
push a
think
person off a
that
bridge or
saying it's
whatever. Like,
harder to
there would
be
be no
moral.
repercussions to it,
And
basically. I mean,
morality is
besides,
something that has to
legality.
be
I mean, there's
taught.
times
Sin is
I can
something
do
that's
stuff
in
to
your
people, or
nature.
anybody can do stuff to people, and
That's
no one
not an
find out,
excuse.
right, or whatever. But I don't mistreat people because I'm a Christian. And so it comes from that kind of place. And a lot of people are either not focused on that or missing that. I feel like they have so much money that, and really, it's just it's tough out there, man. It's tough out there for folks.
Right. Right.
Right. You know what? What are they learning though? See, I don't know what they learned. Like, you ever read anything about atheists? But see, what I would say then, if they're atheists and they don't do things to people, is because they are legally
Yeah,
binding
I
things.
mean,
Like you
although
can't
I
kill people.
don't
No
know
one can
that I
kill people, no
necessarily
matter what
agree that
religion you are.
morality is
Right. But
only
I'm
based
saying,
on
like, if I
religion.
wanted to, for example, when I ride the
Because
shuttle,
you
I
know
ride the
there are
train, and it's
atheists
an
who
old
still
woman
practice
standing up, I'm gonna
morality.
get up because I'm a Christian. I feel like that's the Christian thing to do. Or if someone steps on my foot while I'm walking, I forgive them, right? Because I feel like that's the Christian thing to do. Or if
I
someone
mean,
drops
it's
something, I try to
there's
help
no
them. You know what I
like
mean? Like for me,
you're kind of
I base
asking if
all
there's
of
some
that
kind of
on me, feeling like,
doctrine
okay,
to
God might be
atheism,
watching me, or
and
another person might be
atheists
watching me, and they want to
choose their
say,
own
okay,
path.
that's the Christian thing to do. That's why he a Christian. That's how he exhibits being a Christian. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Are you trying to tell the podcast listeners something? You going Are you gonna make a clarification on your Christianity stance though?
I mean, I think that's a whole nother debate because I feel like you can be atheist and still give somebody your seat and still have a moral code. I'm just saying, like, it was just a thought. I think that morality is not
Well, and
necessarily
then the
tied
other
to
critique
religion.
or the other,
Um,
criticism
but
would be
I
there are a
mean,
lot of
because if
Christians who
we
do
say
bad
that,
things
then we
every
have all
day.
kinds of
A
pastors and preachers who believe in
specifically these
God,
Republicans, right? Like I
but are
don't
not
understand. I'm
moral. Um,
Democrats too. There's some
I
non-Christian
would. I
active
mean, I'm a
Democrats out
Christian.
there too.
I'm just saying that,
Okay,
I don't want to
okay, elaborate on
ostracize
that.
somebody. I mean, I don't
I
understand how you could be an atheist and how you could ever not believe that there's a God, but I can't say that you're immoral because of or amoral because of it.
Agreed. So please be sure to subscribe and follow our podcast so you can be automatically alerted when we produce a new episode on iTunes, Spreaker.com, Google
Exactly.
Play, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Tell a friend to repost and
Oh my
retweet
gosh, here
this
you go.
podcast for
Okay, so we're
us.
out of time. Yeah, I think it's a politician thing because politicians get paid. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, our whole government is corrupt. There may be, a few specks of morality in the United States government, but I would be willing to say that the majority is not. Thank you, and bye, y'all.